we are going to go ahead and kick off this party tonight. You are joining us for a fantastic panel, and the topic tonight are lessons from the mainstream. Uh, Most deaf and hard of hearing students in today's educational environment are educated in their neighborhood school, which we call the mainstream environment. And this is a really unique educational setting for anybody who has a sensory loss. So if you have a hearing loss or a vision loss, and you are in an environment where everything around you is presented in the mode that you have that sensory loss, it can be a challenge. So, as a teacher for the deaf and hard of hearing, it is so valuable to be able to learn from those that have gone before our students now, to be able to learn what supports them best. As a parent, as an interpreter, and even you, as if we have any students or deaf and hard of hearing individuals yourselves who are here, we are just going to really embrace you and your experience tonight so that we can learn from it, so that we can support today's students better. So I'm going to kick off and introduce myself. We are then going to go around the room. We will introduce the panelists who are joining us tonight. Then I'm going to dig into some questions. I've got some pre-planned questions for us that we are going to present to our panelists. And then at the end, we're going to open up the questions, and any questions that you have, we'll be able to, time allowing, be able to ask our panelists as well. So I do have a question or a request from you. First of all, I want you to know that the chat is open to you tonight. So feel free anytime you have an aha moment or just something that's really resonating with you. I just want you to know that you can put it in the chat, share it, talk about it. If you have a question, though, that's specific to the panelists, please put in capital letters, question, and then add the question. And if you've got a question for a specific person, then you can put question and then indicate the person that you would like to ask. That will help us as we are scrolling down the chat. That will help highlight the questions that you have for the panelists. So first of all, a real quick accessibility check. I'm hoping everybody can hear me because I'm not hearing that audio is a problem at all. We do have captions happening, and if you are Spanish speaking, we do have the Spanish speaking channel underneath the interpretation. So we are really rocking it tonight on accessibility. So again, my name is Stephanie Kesson. I am the founder of the online Itinerant. And the online Itinerant is a portal that supports anybody who, I like to say, works with or loves on a child who is deaf or hard of hearing. And it can be in any environment, it can be any age. I'm here to support you and provide you with the pillars to success to be able to walk alongside of you so that we can make this child the most successful, empowered kiddo with the brightest future possible. So I'm really excited to have you join us tonight. I'm next going to have our panelists introduce themselves. We'll start with Kalina, then we'll go to Sean, then we'll go to Keisha. And then after that, we're going to kick off this panel. So Kalina, would you go ahead and unmute and introduce yourself tonight? Oh, you probably can't do that, can you? I did not realize that that would be an issue. Okay, so apparently, let me try this.
Now I can speak. Thank you.
Okay, super.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. I'm excited to be here. My name is Kalina Powell, aka the Deaf Queen Boss. I am an international speaker, a coach, and a four-time author, and I'm also a board director as well. I do so many things, to be honest. I can't keep up with myself too, so don't worry. And now I'm starting my real estate company. That's pretty much what I do. Thank you.
A real estate company? Did I just hear
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Yes, you did.
Wow, that's very exciting. I did not know that. Please tell them the recent award that you have won because I'm just so personally in awe and inspired about that. And I think it should be highlighted for people.
Yeah, definitely. So I actually won a biggest award of my life. It's called to Top Canadian. Sorry, I'm gonna rephrase again. Top Watch Black Women in Canada in 2025. So with that being said, I've been watched across Canada, and I had a lot of interaction, a lot of connection. So it's basically just saying, a lot of people watch me a lot on social media and my work. So that's the award I won on Saturday, which I'm excited. So thank you.
Congratulations. One of the top 100 Black women to watch in the entire country of Canada. And she's here with us tonight. How amazing is that?
Thank you.
Alina, can you just really briefly share you were mainstreamed starting when until when, and how
Oh,
big was your graduating class?
yes, for sure. So from kindergarten to grade three, I went to both schools. I went to the deaf school and the hearing school. And then after grade three, I went to the hearing school from grade three all the way to university experience.
Thank you. Okay, Sean.
Hello, everyone. It's my turn. All right, I'm going to take over. My name is Sean. This is my name sign. I'm the owner of the Signing Room, a place for people to practice their skills and grow. I'm a fifth generation family. My parents, my grandparents were all deaf. My brothers, sisters, everyone, except before that was all hearing. We still let them participate in the family. But I'm from Kansas, born there, mainstreamed there. I started kindergarten, mainstreamed all the way to high school. In college, I went to RIT, but I already know like how the deaf system works. I wouldn't count that in tonight's presentation, but I guess kindergarten to third was at oral school technically, but before and after that, it was full mainstream school.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sean. And we have Keisha Stanley here, who is our itinerant teacher, deaf and hard of hearing teacher representative. Keisha, would you mind introducing yourself tonight?
So, hello, I am Lakeisha Stanley. Everybody calls me Keisha. My name sign is Keisha. I have been teaching since 19 something. I have been an itinerant teacher in both South Carolina and Georgia. I am currently a doctoral student at Georgia State University. I am a program support specialist in Cobb County, Georgia, which I see a lot of my people here, and I appreciate your support so much. And I'm also a member of the Council for Exceptional Children, and under which we have 18 divisions. And one of the divisions is the Division for Communication, Language, and Deaf and Hard of Hearing. And I will be the president as of January.
Congratulations. We are so excited to have you here. So if you're unfamiliar with the Council of Exceptional Children, CEC, I hope you investigated and learned more. It's a huge professional organization. Keisha, do you know how many members globally are in CEC?
Last that we had a conversation, he said it's over millions at this point because, as you said, it is an international organization. And so, as a matter of fact, we all had to sign letters recently to discuss that we would like for the government to consider not doing the things that they're doing.
Awesome. And how many members are in your subgroup for the Division of Communication, Language, and Deafness?
For currently in that division, I have 724 members.
Wonderful. So definitely an organization for everybody to be aware of.
Yes, yes, yes. We offer lots of networking, and then we also offer a journal. We have the communication quarterly disorder where if you are writing and you want to submit a journal article, send it to us, let us review it, and then we publish it. So
Great.
Come on.
Thank you. And we'll be able to hear a little bit more about some of these things at the end of the panel tonight. Everybody will have an opportunity to hear how you can continue to connect with this fabulous panel of people, because I can guarantee you we're going to run out of time. So let's go ahead and let's jump right in. I've got a question for our panelists. I'm going to start with Kalina, and then we'll go to Sean. But I want you to look back at your mainstream experience, your entire mainstream experience from when you started until you graduated. And if you had to summarize it into one word, what word would you choose to summarize your mainstream experience and why? Kalina, let's go ahead and have you start.
Yes, for my one word is resilient. The reason for that is because being a deaf person, being involved in a hearing community, it definitely teach myself how to be acceptable into places and learn how to be patient with people. And I will get into it later on. I'll explain why. But every day with communication barriers, I learned how to advocate for myself, really fight for my accommodation every day. And so it really shaped me who I am as a person today to be strong. And, being a hard of hearing person in the hearing community is not always easy. So, yeah, that's my one word.
Thank you. Resilience. I love that word, because resilient really, it encompasses kind of the good and the bad and the character building that you grow from your experiences. And that's a really powerful word to use as looking back at your entire mainstream experience. We're going to dig into that in a little bit. Sean, if you were to summarize in one word your mainstream experience, what word would you choose?
Oh man, one word I would use is survival. Um, just a lot of journeys that I went through, a lot of struggles, frustrations, learning experiences, and all the while, I'm just like fighting this internal battle, trying to, fight for my rights, like survive, I guess that's the best word for me.
Survival. That is a really powerful word. Thank you. So I'm going to lean into that a little bit. Sean, this is your question. Could you give us an example of a situation or something that somebody did, an interpreter, a teacher, or another adult, something that you learned or that they taught you in your mainstream experience that has impacted your future or impacted your future where you are today in a positive way?
Well, I'll go to my favorite interpreter in middle school. Her name is Donna. She was just my favorite interpreter. She impacted me so much. The previous interpreters I had, I don't know, they didn't really teach me any confidence building, or they encouraged me to ask questions. But I always would ask questions to the interpreter, and I was thinking that it would just be between, the interpreter and I. But Donna taught me how to use an interpreter in a professional way. She would voice my questions instead. So, and then that actually, now I'm speaking up in class, that was building confidence for me. And after that, I just loved asking questions. And that's what I learned from later in life. It doesn't matter. Don't be embarrassed to ask questions. It doesn't hurt. You learn things, and that's really one of the impacts I got from my time at the middle school.
I love that reflection, because I often see students in the classroom asking an interpreter a question and the interpreter just answering it. Sean, when your interpreter did that,
Right, right.
when your interpreter for the first time interpreted for you, did you know it was going to happen, or was it a little bit of a surprise?
Oh, I was upset. I was upset. I was just like, I couldn't even continue the question. I was just like, I shut down. I like put my hands behind my back basically, because I learned that I looked, like if I looked away, and the interpreter can't hold information forever. And if I looked away, I'd be like, I just became a better student because I learned like I have to pay more attention. I got to pay attention in class, ask questions. Yeah, definitely.
So even though you were really upset at first, you feel like it benefited you in the long run.
Yeah, I actually had to talk to my parents, like how the interpreter was behaving, and they were like, "That's your job. That's their job, rather." And my parents are deaf, so they explained to me, all the cultural pieces and all that background that I learned from my parents, and that applied in that situation too. And then, like I really changed who I was at that point and really picked things up from there.
Thank you. So, Kalina, you used your word resilient as your one word to describe your mainstream experience. Can you share one example of of something that an adult taught you during your mainstream experience that impacted you in a positive way today? Maybe it wasn't an easy lesson like Sean's lesson, or maybe it was. Maybe it was a great lesson, but can you share one example of something that somebody taught you that has benefited you in your journey?
Yeah, I would never forget this professor I met actually at York University. Yes, I went to York University, and little did I knew that I had a professor that was hard of hearing. He literally paused the lecture over 500 students to change his hearing aid battery. He literally paused like 1 second and he changed my hearing aid battery. And at that moment, I thought to myself, wow, there's nothing wrong with being hard of hearing in a normal space. And he definitely really taught me a lot about myself and changing that perspective of who I am as a person to realize that I am capable of becoming successful in my life, whatever I put my mind into. And that moment just truly boosted my confidence and helped me to accept myself. And I remember he said it in the lecture, he said, if you cannot truly accept yourself, you cannot be successful in your whole life. And he really changed my perspective of I can do anything.
Kalina, I love how he became a deaf mentor to you. And
Yes,
had you had other deaf mentors prior to him, or was he your first one?
he's actually my first one.
Okay. So having a deaf mentor who just didn't care, was proud of their deafness, it just was part of who they were,
Yeah.
impacted you in a big way. Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, Kalina, this question is to you, and then Sean will bounce it back to you. And then Keisha, I do have a question for you, so it's coming. Um, Kalina, let's talk about social needs. This socially, we know that social relationships are so important to children and to students. And having a hearing loss can isolate you from relationships with others in the class. Can you share one thing that somebody did that helped you socially in the mainstream environment?
Yes. So back when I was in high school in grade 10, I actually had a teacher who actually partnered me up with somebody who I was currently not bullied by, but somebody that I couldn't get along with. And the teacher told me, and she said, Kalina, I want you to be partnered with this particular student. And I looked at her and I said, who? And she said, this student over there. And I looked at my teacher and I said, man, I am not partnering with that girl. And she said, Kalina, you have the personality. You can figure it out. Go and make friends. And I was a little nervous because I never made friends with somebody who had that personality of her because I'm very quiet and I very isolate myself sometimes in the school. And my teacher basically helped me to boost my confidence. And little did I knew, me and that lady is actually best friends till this day. And people don't know that. They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm a best friend till this day. And what I could say is a good thing is that she actually partnered me with somebody who she saw potential. And she really taught me that sometimes you may not get along with everybody, but you do have to build that confidence in yourself to talk to other people that you don't think is going to work. So, yeah. And it
Thank
was
you.
good. And it was good. Now we're best friends. So,
Now, I remember a story that you shared with me at one point about how you had, I don't know if it was a teacher or a SLP, speech and language therapist, but she paired you with somebody and you had to play games but
I
you had to
spy.
teach each other how to communicate with each other.
Yes. So that was in grade 5 or 4. I don't remember what grade, but yes, I will never forget this as well. There's so many good stories I have. So the teacher really partnership with the student. We were kids, and we decided to come up with strategy to communicate because the student was very clueless with me, and she's like, "How do you talk? How do we do that?" I said, "Okay, let's play a game." So her and I play I Spy. So we would learn how to communicate, and so I would talk, and then she would sign the thing that I'm looking for, so that way we can actually learn how to communicate with each other, which was really cool because little did I knew we were young and we're kids and we're trying to be creative, how to be good communication, and it really helped me to really learn that there are people out there that are willing to accept you when I got older. But it was, yeah, I Spy was a very good game for me.
That's a really interesting way to do that. So, were you naturally, did you normally sign or did you normally speak in your normal communication?
So with my normal communication, when I went to the deaf school, when I was like in kindergarten, I learned to sign and speak. And then when I left to the parent school full time, I would speak in fluently because no one in the parent school had sign language for me.
So then was she deaf and she signed already, or was she learning how to sign to be able
She
to
was learning how to sign.
communicate? What a great idea. I love that. Okay. All right, Sean, same question for you. Can you talk about one thing that supported you socially within the mainstream?
Well, group projects were huge for me. Um, Group projects really forces individuals together into small groups. And, I didn't have to talk in front of the whole room. It's just two people. So it was a lot easier for me, and it was easier for the interpreter too. They can, interpret what, and let me know who's talking in the small group. And the confidence that I had, I would, start asking questions, getting people's opinions, talk about like whatever the project was. Did you read the book? Like, and someone would say like, "Oh yeah, it was such a boring read," and I agree, and I can't believe, what we have to do in this project. Blah blah blah. We made these connections, and so whether we agreed or disagreed, group projects were wonderful for me. It just really showed me who I was, and it had full accessibility. And really, it was simple for me. If I didn't understand, I could ask them to repeat really quickly. And especially like one time we were supposed to be involved in a physics project, and we have to build like a tower out of spaghetti and marshmallows. And so we are trying to build this, and I came up with these ideas, but it didn't work out. It collapsed. And so it's like, well, let's start over. Okay. I was just I really felt like it was really equal. Like before that, like, it's like we ended up not really caring so much about the project and really having fun doing it together. So that was really one of the impacts for me.
I love that. Now, out of curiosity, how did your interpreter interpret those small groups? Would she walk around the people that she was talking to, or did she sit in the circle with you? How did that interpreter navigate those relationships for you?
Well, if I would sit in like one spot, the interpreter typically sat in between the other two group members. And so I didn't really have full eye contact with them. So I would, they would be pretty far away. So I didn't want to be constantly moving my neck back and forth. So I sat further back. So I didn't have to, swivel my neck as much. So the interpreter sat in between the two and would interpret for the group that way.
I love that. Cool. Thank you. Okay. Keisha, so related to this question about supporting kids socially, um, do you have anything that you have learned or about supporting students' social needs, and what have you learned works well or does not work well for supporting the social needs of the students that you've worked with or others that you're familiar with in the mainstream?
So one of the things that I've learned over the years is not to focus on just the goals. I think that was one of the things that as a new itinerant teacher, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do these goals and objectives. But then the reality is that the first relationship that you have to start is the relationship with the student. You have to figure out a way to bond with that student, figure out what makes them, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, what do they like. Once you have that relationship with that student, then you can actually figure out, okay, you're shy. We need to figure out a way to get you more involved with certain things. I also figured out that I needed to not just see the student in my one-on-one session. So I would go to the classroom and see the student. I would walk in the hallway with the student. So I was trying to make sure that as the student was navigating these spaces, I was navigating these spaces with the student. And then I actually got the opportunity in a few cases to like have hearing students join our sessions. And we would play little games. I remember one of the games that we played was the headband game. And they thought that was the best thing ever. The hearing student thought, oh my God, this makes sense, because they really didn't have to talk. They could act out the whole thing. I did Disney character headbands. Everybody was happy. And they got to be in a situation where they were actually able to socialize. And that made a world of a difference to a lot of my babies. And I still refer to them as babies, even though they're not all babies.
I love that. You put everybody on the same level, kind of like what Sean talked about his projects, his hands-on projects, when you took the language and the conversation out and you just allowed everybody to work together in one common language, then those barriers came down. I love it. Okay. What is one thing that you wish, looking back at your experience, what's one thing that you wish somebody would have done differently? Sean, I'm going to start with you and then we'll go to Kalina. So, looking back, what's one thing that you wish somebody, like a teacher, interpreter, parents, somebody would have done differently for you during those years?
Phew, that's a tough one. Looking back, what do I want to change? Man, I already changed everything to get me to where I am today. But let's see. I'll go back to young Sean. Let's see. I don't know if you know this, but I used to be a hard of hearing interpreter because the school couldn't find anyone. So they had for 1 year, and so that was a huge change. So the information, I mean, it was a great interpreter, but the information was so slow and delayed. And it didn't get to me in time, so I didn't have any opportunity to ask questions. I just had to sit there and smile. And then later they got a regular ASL interpreter again, and everything was back to normal. I could communicate better, ask questions better, keep up with every information. So I guess that was one change, but gosh, what else? I don't know.
So let me just connect some dots. For clarification, they couldn't find an interpreter for you, so they gave you an interpreter who themselves was hard of hearing.
Yep. Yep. There was almost like no interpreter, basically. Yeah.
That must have been very challenging for you.
Oh, for sure. It was a challenge. That was fourth grade when I moved to a different school. Um, oh, I remember also something else I can add. Yeah, fourth grade. They couldn't find the interpreter, and so they brought in this temporary interpreter for a short time, and then got a regular interpreter back in. So I valued the education, so I just wanted to keep going. And that my parents were requesting this interpreter as soon as possible. I mean, I just couldn't be in class and not have one. It just wouldn't work out.
So one thing it did for you is it helped you realize what you were missing and the value of a quality interpreter and how important it was to have that. Yeah, thank you. Kalina.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, there's okay, bad, wonderful interpreters. They impact your education.
Thank you. Kalina, what's one thing that you wish the adults back then had done differently? Maybe they didn't realize that it was impactful in a negative way for any reason. But now looking back at it, you realize that it was a challenge and that you wish they would have done it differently.
To really understand my IEP, I just wish that someone really truly sit down with me in my early stage to really understand what is my accommodation, how to read the IEP correctly. The reason for that is because I didn't fully understand my IEP until I was in grade 9. And I'm in grade 9, I'm sitting here and I said, I don't need any half of these accommodation. I just need to make sure that the teacher had closed caption. And it sucked because I wish that the teacher listened to my family when they kept telling the teacher, Kalina needs to be in this room to talk about changes on her IEP to fully understand. Because my mom didn't know how to explain it to me because she was like, I don't know. My mom was young when she had me, by the way, everyone. And, my mom kept advocating, and unfortunately, nothing worked out. And I remember when I was in grade 9, I was looking at my IEP. It wasn't really updated, to be honest. It was the same thing over and over. And I was like, wait, it's just the same thing as the previous year. Like no one updated it. And so I got really frustrated. And my mom said, this is why I tried to tell the teacher to bring you in the room, but I didn't know. And again, it was not my mom's fault. I just wish teachers would be more understanding, more patient with parents to truly understand why I was creating an IEP, why was it on the IEP. And unfortunately, my mom had to learn it through work to truly understand the IEP in order to explain it to me. And so my Itinerant teacher did explain it to me what it was. But again, she didn't really teach me until grade 9. So I wish that she taught me about it in grade 6 instead of grade 9. And now looking back at it, it's just like I couldn't imagine how many parents and child are struggling. And and of course, it was really hard for me because I didn't know what's happening. And I'm thinking I'm fine, but realistically, yeah, it was not easy for me. So I just wish I could understand more about IEP.
And Kalina, you have a story about how your mom that they had a meeting, an IEP meeting, and they changed your modifications, or they changed some things on the IEP that you disagreed with, and they didn't tell you until after it was done.
Yes, that's correct.
Can you
So
talk about
it
that?
was, yeah, I don't know what happened to me. Because again, I wasn't in the meeting, and I think my mom forgot. My mom's working 3 jobs, by the way, and she completely forgot. And then my grandma started something, and then I don't know how I got it into my hand, and I was flipping. Something just told me, look through it. I looked through it, and I'm like, what is this? And my mom's like, wait, what? And I'm like, Mom, what meeting did they have? And my mom said, oh, they changed it last minute. And it was like a lot of back and forth. And my mom was upset because when they were going to change it, she literally asked them to make sure I was in the room because my mom had to go to work. And they changed the appointment and they changed it on purpose because they didn't want me mid class. And my mom said, I don't care if she's missed in class. She needs to be here. And so, yeah, so that was the story.
What was the change that you were so unhappy about?
What word did it? I don't remember Stephanie. Help me. What?
What you in one of your stories you talked about that they had separate test taking, that you would be take a test in a different room, maybe?
Oh yeah, yeah, that was in grade 10. Oh my God, that was horrible. That was horrible. I had to do a test, everyone, and it was like I don't remember it. And I remember they said, now I remember, it was the IEP, it was saying that if I have to do a test, I need to be pulled into like a quiet corner room. And I was just like, I freaked out because I was like, that's not what I needed. I just need extra time. That's all I needed. And I've been asking them to give me extra time. Don't put me in a quiet room. And so I just felt like they were overestimated my strength, what I'm good at. And so it was just weird, but yeah.
So what upset you about them having you go into a different room? Was it upsetting to you because you didn't want to leave? Was it upsetting because you didn't think that you needed to be set apart? What was it exact? Because what was it that upset you about that modification?
One, I wasn't aware of the changer. Two, I did not want to be stuck away from the classroom because I was fine with the classroom and it was not like a big class. Like I went to a Catholic school, by the way, so it's very small. So I didn't need to go to a private room and something quiet. So those are the two things that really got me upset.
Thank you. It's interesting that you say that because that's actually a not an uncommon thing that's on an IEP, but it's also not uncommon to not have it. You know, I love your comment about you just wanted to be in the room to talk about it. You wanted to be a part of that decision, and you weren't until high school, but you wish you would have been earlier.
Exactly.
How young do you think you would have liked to have been in that IEP meeting?
I would say in grade six. I would say grade six, yeah. Because I was very mature for my age. And again, it depends on the student, right? How mature are they for you to explain to them the IEP?
So I want you guys to think about yourselves when you were little, okay? Or when you were going through school. So I want you to have a conversation with young Sean and young Kalina. What would you today, if you were mentoring young Sean or young Kalina, if you were mentoring yourself, what would you tell yourself? What would you tell yourself back then that you know today? Let's start with Kalina. Do you understand the question?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. I would say not every day is going to be a good day, but you do have to be patient within yourself. That'll be the good advice for myself.
That is some good advice. That's good advice for all of us. Sean, what would you tell young Sean? What would you want him to know?
Well, I did learn the hard way. I wish I would have known to really understand my surroundings, pay attention to my surroundings, know what's going on. Complain to my parents because my parents would listen. They valued me, but I just didn't. I didn't pay attention like that. I was being a kid, I guess. But, preschool, kindergarten, first, second grade, I was just like doing my thing. But I don't know. Yeah. I guess, secondly, what I would add, don't wait for other people to fix your problems. You yourself need to take care of those problems and find some sort of solution. Like, for example, if you're going to school, you're going into a new grade, new teacher, and the teacher is not aware of how to have accommodations for a deaf student, don't just sit back and like let them mishandle it. You have to educate them. You have to advocate for yourself on what you need. And so I wish I could have told myself to do that, to advocate for yourself, tell teachers to what you need. And, then I could have done that right from the start. But they're not deaf. They're not in my shoes. They can't read minds. You have to tell them.
I love it. Keisha, how about you? If you could mentor young teacher Keisha, what would you tell her?
I would start by telling her to make the best thing that ever happened was actually being friendly and walking in a building and meeting people and greeting people and actually taking the time to get to know people. Um, and when you meet with the parents, same thing. Take the time to get to know them, ask them questions about their children, ask them what are they doing extracurricular, like actually get in there and build that relationship. Building that relationship with the students is one of the best things ever. And as young Keisha, she didn't know that. Young Keisha was just like, I'm in here to do this IEP, let's go. But older Keisha figured that out, and older Keisha realized that you have to have relationships with the custodian, the secretary in the front office, the librarian, the students that you work with, the other students in the class that you don't work with, like all those people, the parents, all those people is what make you a better teacher.
You are so right. And just being when you can be friendly like that and you can just become known for who you are and that you have the best interest of your kiddos at heart, then it really supports the whole village, right? Everybody wants to work with you and work support you in what you're doing with your students as well. I love it. So I am now going to peek at the chat. For those of you who have questions for our panelists, you can write question in capital letters. That helps me kind of hone in. If you've got a question for a specific panelist, then just say a question for whoever. And we'll take a few minutes to take some questions from our participants. And the first question is for Keisha. So Keisha, as an itinerant teacher, how do you advocate for children and their parents when it comes to their IEP?
It is a team, and I tell parents from the start that it is a team, that I don't go in here and make decisions on my own, that we have to work together. I also have to sometimes tell parents, slow down. We got to get through all the current functioning before we get to the placement, before we get to the because some parents are like, let's get to that part. But it is really and truly just making sure that my parents are a part of the conversation. And when it comes to and you're right, my elementary students, probably fifth grade is when I really start encouraging them to start being a part of the IEP meetings. And a lot of them are still shy, and they don't have their voice yet. By middle school, we're starting to encourage them to actually speak up more. And then by high school, no questions asked. You need to be a part of the meeting. And one of my favorite things to tell them is stop letting people talk about you and let them talk to you. And that is how I've encouraged and had my students and advocated for them. And it works when you actually, as you say, work as a team, work as a village. That's what works.
I love that phrase. Stop letting people talk about you and start letting them talk to you. That's awesome. I love that. Okay, Sean or Kalina, this just goes out to either one of you. If you feel like you've got an answer, go ahead and raise your hand. Did you ever go through a period that you didn't want others to know about your hearing loss and you tried to hide it or you faked it? And if you went through that period, how did you overcome it?
Me or you? I can go.
Sean looks ready.
You have no idea how much I hated to be deaf. Like, especially being around hearing people all the time. I wished I could hear. And, we would go into a new class. I would sit way in the back. I would hide, and the interpreter is way in the front. And, is no way. So that way there was no way to figure out who they were there to interpret for. I would just sit there and be quiet. And I wouldn't raise my hand. I wouldn't do anything until the teacher said, why don't you sit in the front? And I said I didn't want to. So eventually, I spoke during high school and school, but they automatically knew who I was interpreting for by how I sounded, I guess. But also, I learned though to accept who I was and be motivated in school. And I was actually the time I fully accepted my own identity as a deaf person was in college, but all the way through the iterations of school before then, it was a struggle.
Sean, that's amazing to me and really, really appreciated that you share that because you come from a deaf family. You come from generations
I
of deaf
know.
family. So, somebody like me might think if there's anybody who's comfortable in their skin, it's going to be the deaf person from the deaf family. So thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, what was it that helped when you went to university that helped you really identify as who you are and accept yourself as who you are?
Well, I was still like, I didn't want to leave Kansas. It was so far away, so I kind of looked for other schools. My parents suggested Gallaudet or RIT. but one itinerant teacher suggested that I check out the deaf school. So I went to RIT, and like it was ICE, the for the future. And so the university was, full of deaf people. They, it's not like camp. It was just everyone was there who was deaf, and they're like me, and there were no barriers. And growing up in school, I would talk to all these hearing people around me constantly, and I'd have to think twice just to get communication done. But there at university, I was, immersed, and I realized that was it for me. And so the itinerant teacher suggested I check out RIT for the future. So, oh, but I did want to add, even though like I came from a deaf family, my parents were really my rock. They they were my whole world. I mean, having deaf parents, that communication access at home, that I can share, information with, what happened in class, what happened in school, I would tell them, and it was fully accessible that way. There were no barriers at home. My parents were really my rock. I just wanted to mention that. And of course, my interpreter too.
Of that, Sean. I love seeing how your parents supported you and influenced you. Your itinerant teacher supported you, directed that future for you, and then of course your interpreter as well. Thank you. Kalina, did you ever struggle with
Yes, yes, I struggled so much, to be honest. Yeah, in school, I was the only hard of hearing that student that a lot of my teacher ever came across with. They always told me I'm the first one. It was very difficult for me to really accept them. Accept me as a student that needs accommodation. And yeah, I used to hide it all the time. And I know I tried to, try to fit in school and the drama and everything. I think we all been through that. And so I tried to act like I could hear people. And I think sometimes we don't want to bother asking them to repeat themselves. And I was like that person. I would just pretend that I could hear, where I really couldn't hear them. And especially when we are outside for lunch, sometimes I hear too many things in the background. I can't communicate very well. And yeah, I do hide a lot, especially when I'm socially out there. But yeah, in school it's very difficult. I always hide it, to be honest. I don't know why. It just sometimes I don't want to overexplain myself to people, especially if they're not going to do anything to accommodate me. And because again, it happened to me so many times in school or the teacher didn't bother. Some teachers think I'm taking advantage of my accommodation, knowing that it just, yes, I do hide a lot, a lot. So, yeah.
Was there a point you shared about how when your college professor stopped to take out his hearing aid and change that? Was that you shared that was a pivotal moment for you?
Yes, there was.
Was
Yeah.
there any other pivotal moments or stages in your life that you felt like, okay, this is who I am and this is makes me me? Can you share any other kind of moments or aha times that you had that just kind of helped you come into yourself in that way?
Yeah, I actually was working at Canada Wonderland for those who in the US. It's a big park in Canada. And it was super hot. My hair was curly. I actually put it in a ponytail. And a little boy approached me and he's like, Mia, look, like I wear hairnet too in both ears. And that was my haha moment because his mom actually came up to me and said, you did something so small for my son to boost his confidence. And I was like, no way. And she said to me, it's very rare to meet someone who is hard of hearing in the hearing community interaction. And I've been telling my son there's nothing wrong with him. And since he met you, you have been a boost for him. And so I started crying because I never had anybody like myself growing up. And seeing that mom who's older than me, a woman, and she said, you're gonna make a change in the world. I just can see it in you, but I know you're young, but I can see it. And now I see what she's talking about. And that was my haha moment. And I was 16, turning 17 when that happened.
I love that. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Oh, here's a question for Sean. It's a question about interpreters. Were your interpreters allowed to teach sign language to classmates so that they could communicate better with you in the mainstream?
I don't remember that. Typically, the interpreter will say, ask Sean, and refer it to me for if they wanted to learn a sign. Encouraging them to approach me and not the other adult in the room, the interpreter. They would always refer them to me to do the teaching of any sign. And so I would be happy to do that and teach them sign, and if then the interpreter would be there to interpret that negotiation. But yeah, it was usually me who did that.
I love that. They really, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it was very empowering. That taught me that I was, to be empowered that way.
I love it. So, Sean, what is the best advice that you would give to an interpreter for a student today?
That's always hard. Because I remembered, I was like a hard student, but how do I say this? Like advice for the interpreter. Advocate, I guess. A lot of students, including myself, were very shy at the beginning and fearful to say anything or ask questions. Even though I would know the answer, I wouldn't raise my hand. And the interpreter would give me the look like, come on, you know the answer, and encourage me, like, come on, you know it. And then so I would regretfully raise my hand, but that built my confidence. And I can, show my intelligence. I was a straight A student, all the way through. I was, always asking questions after the interpreter gave me that impact, that empowerment, like, go ahead, ask questions. And, they had then that way we had a voice for ourselves that way.
So I'm definitely catching a few major themes. I am seeing that the opportunity to be empowered yourself. Kalina, you really wanted to be empowered at your IEP meetings and you wanted the teachers to talk to you. Sean, your interpreter had kids go to you and interpreted for you, like empowered you guys to have the power. I've heard that your parents were huge advocates for you. I've heard that your teachers, your itinerant teachers, supported you and helped you make friends. Keisha, I've heard you talk about how the relationships are so important inside the building, not only with your student, not only just to, look only specifically at that IEP goal, but to look at the broader picture of the social needs and the relationship. I'm just hearing a lot of empowerment of our students ourselves and that building relationship and those adults in your lives that were cheerleaders. Um, do Sean, well, both of you guys, I love as an adult who works with students, what you're saying just resonates so deeply with me. Keisha, are you hearing anything tonight that just is really resonating with you and just kind of impacting you from a professional standpoint about how we can support our students better?
I will tell you one of the best things that's happened tonight is to realize that where I'm working, we're doing a lot of that. And that makes me just very extremely proud to see that. Like we're putting in the work. I get to observe interpreters. I get to observe itinerant teachers. I get to see all of this in action. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to see all of this. So I love the idea that we're stronger together. And that's what it looks like. And that's what I see. And it does. It makes my heart feel good.
I agree. I agree. So, Kalina, Sean, both of you guys have entered your adulthood as empowered, strong, very capable adults in our society. I love it. You each have businesses, and you now take your businesses and you support kids who are deaf and hard of hearing and adults and people who want to work with these children and these kids. I would like just to take a couple minutes to go and you guys can talk about what you're doing and how people can continue to connect with you, because we're going to be done in 5 minutes and people have a lot more conversation, a lot more questions that they have for you. So I want you to talk about what you're doing with your business, how it can impact kids today. And Keisha, I want you to be able to talk about what you're doing with the CEC and how people can connect with you and follow up. And I want each one of you to be able to put a link inside the chat if you're comfortable doing that. And then also for everybody who's here tonight, I want you to know you will be hearing more from each one of these people. We are going to be sharing some resources and sharing some information about their businesses. Who did we just lose? We just lost Keisha? Did she go? Not Keisha. Did we just lose Kalina? Oh, there she is. Okay, here we go. Your camera went off and I thought we lost you. Sean, can you talk about the signing room? Tell us about the signing room and how does it support kids today? And how can people connect with you in the signing room?
Well, the signing room, often people out there, they'll take a sign language class, ASL 1, ASL 2, ASL 3, and think like, yeah, I'm done. But they need to keep practicing. And where does that go? That's the missing part a lot of people have experienced. That's the problem. They'll take up and do these classes, and then they'll just lose the skills. So they need like practice, like especially kids who have taken these classes and their kids blow them out of the water with the language. So what our company does is the signing room. It's a place for everyone to practice sign, have actual conversations, and everyone can sign. And if you can sign, come. And it's in person, it's an online thing, and parents can be there too, to ask questions about to other parents, or teachers can network with other paras and everything. So that's what we have. We have a variety of levels, and it's from kids to adults as well. And, parents, teachers, anyone.
Okay.
I'll post the link right now.
Sean, before you post the link, a few clarifying questions. Is it like a once a week class or what kind of learning schedule is it?
Oh, we offer over 16 hours a week. You can see you can see the schedule posted and say like, oh, that level should fit me. But also you don't need to sign up for one. You can sign up for only one. You can sign up for as many as you want. And you
That's
can
what I love.
go 4 times a week if you wanted to.
That's what I love about the signing room. It's an all you can sign program. Sean, what ages? Is it for kids too?
No, for adults, above the age of 18.
So it's helping others, adults become the language model for their kids, for their students. Awesome. Thank
Yes.
you. I love it. Kalina, tell us about your business.
Yeah, so I do so many hats. So my business, so I do like coaching for young adults with disabilities, and also the deaf community and hard of hearing community. I focus on teaching them how to build the confidence in themselves and learn how to be more advocate for themselves. I know again, parents may not know or understand how to come advocate, and the child have to know how to be independent without the parent being present. So that's what I teach them. And also, I do a little bit of mentorship with parents as well who have questions. I know a lot of parents always reach out to me on social media and they kind of have questions about this. Like, do you think this will work for my child? And so that's what I do. I do support a lot of parents and both parents and child as well.
Kalina, I think you would be a very empowering mentor for our students. It would be fantastic. Do school districts ever contract with you or connect with you?
Honey?
Do school districts ever contract with you?
Yes. I got two contact me. Yes, so far. Yes.
That's great. So you would be a great fit for any child who maybe had mental health concerns, maybe not a counselor, but a life coach or just somebody who would be a mentor to them, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Awesome. I love it. Will you put your link in the information?
Yeah. So I just put my LinkedIn and I will go back out and get my website and then I put it in.
Keisha, Tell us about CEC and your division and what benefit people can get from joining your program.
So, as you know, CEC is the Council for Exceptional Children, and it is an international program where we talk about high level performance as well as working with teachers, students, graduate students, paraprofessionals, parents, all in the name of how can we better support our students who have disabilities. We also work with, for my division, it's the Division for Communication, Language, and Deaf and Hard of Hearing. But that's one of 18. There's the Division for Autism. There's the Division for vision impaired and deaf blindness. So there's 18 different. There's even a division to work with administrators and helping administrators who are working with our special needs kids. So, but the best way to do it is just literally go to the CEC website and become a member. And the networking is amazing. Like there are people that you meet that I jokingly say there are doors that are open to me now that I had never even thought I was even invited to the room. I sit at a table now where I didn't even know that table existed. So there are things that, and one of the best things that I can see right now is there are people that I see on this Zoom call right now that are already DCD members, and they are always promoting different things, and that's how we connect.
Thank you. And of course, my business is the online Itinerant, and I specialize in working with adults, teachers, interpreters, parents who work with children who are deaf or hard of hearing, birth through 21. And there is a special platform called the Professional Academy, and we have a parent program called the Friend Academy. And I am committed to providing the 3 pillars to success, which is professional development, support and resources, and on a community, all of them available to you what you need when you need it. So I would love to connect with all of you as well. You will be getting an email from us tonight, or an email following the recording, assuming the technology has worked well. We'll have a recording for you tonight, and you'll be getting opportunities to connect with each one of us in the future. I do see a question about a certificate. We do not have a certificate of training for this tonight. I am so sorry about that. We just can't monitor how long people stayed for the whole thing, or the recording that comes up later, how much people watch. So we do apologize about that, but I can tell you that our trainings inside the Professional Academy do offer credit. I think Keisha, CEC, also offers credit for trainings and conferences. And before we go, I do want to introduce Selena on our screen. She is the founder of Hands United, who has helped facilitate the Spanish interpretation. Selena, do you just want to take 1 minute to share
Yeah,
what you do and how people can
yeah.
connect as
So
well?
I run a nonprofit that works with immigrant families with deaf and hard of hearing children. Any family that does not speak English but has a deaf or hard of hearing child in the United States or in U.S. territories, we offer ASL classes in their spoken language. So far, we've done classes in spoken Spanish, spoken Tigrinya, spoken Amharic, and spoken Burmese. We're currently working on developing several other languages. We serve around 300 families in 30 states. Please reach out to us. Please get support. Make sure that your immigrant families are getting the equal support that your English-speaking families are.
You guys, we have had a full room tonight. I cannot thank you enough for joining us for this panel. Thank all of our panelists, Keisha, Sean, Kalina, as well as all of our interpreters, our Spanish interpreters, our ASL interpreters, and our live captionists that we have had as well. And we look forward to connecting with all of you.